Bitcoin is immune from attack.
And welcome to the Crypto Show's Digital Cash Evolution. Today we are in Denver, Colorado at the Denver Startup Week. And we're speaking with somebody from Salt. Chuck, take it away. You know more about our guest than I do. So.
Yeah, thanks everybody for being here. I want to just extend a thanks to the Masternode, the Dash Masternode Network, for partially funding this the Crypto Show. I am here with Caleb. I'm sorry, your last name, Caleb.
Slade. Caleb Slade.
Caleb Slade. Slade of Salt. Yeah. He's a co-founder of Salt. Caleb, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can dive in?
Yeah, I'm the co-founder and chief knowledge officer for Salt Lending. We started in 2006. Some of you guys might know about us, some of you might not. What we're doing is we are doing lending against crypto assets as collateral. So starting with Bitcoin and Ethereum, but we're planning on quickly expanding to other blockchain assets. It's just like almost stock lending, or how you would borrow against your car or your house. Instead of selling that asset, giving it up, creating taxable events or whatever maybe in your jurisdiction, you can use that as collateral, get a cash loan, repay that, and get your collateral back.
Right. And you know, over my career, I've had a little bit of dealing with Salt. We talked about maybe offering Dash Masternodes as some kind of collateral, or Dash itself as collateral.
Something we're very
we
interested
haven't quite closed that deal yet, and I don't think that Dash is quite in a position from a core group perspective to engage with that, but maybe with Dash Ventures. I don't know if you've heard about that.
A little bit.
Yeah,
I've heard a little
so I would definitely say let's try and reach out and get that coordination with Dash Ventures,
absolutely.
and that might be something to happen. But here we are at the Denver Startup Week, and what's going on here is you've got a lot of startup type people here, new entrepreneurs who are interested in understanding more about crypto, because this is the blockchain hub of Denver Startup Week. We've got a bunch of tents set up here that are all in the crypto space.
There's even a sign that says Blockchain Hub.
Blockchain Hub, literally.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
So a lot of connections. Here comes Eric Voorhees. I think we're going to get him on next. But I think what I want to get is your perspective on, you know, what's going on here. What does this mean for this space, and what's next for the crypto space in merchant adoption? And what do you think we need? Those kinds of, give me your perspective on.
So Denver Startup Week, it's the largest event of its kind. It's last year it pulled, I don't know how many is this year, but last year it pulled about 20,000 people from all over the country, and it's just this really open, organic event surrounding entrepreneurship, surrounding the startup culture, startup, industry as a whole. And this is the first year that they've decided to focus an entire track on blockchain technology. And one of the panels that you and I were on earlier today, some of the other talks today, really have been focusing on how blockchain is going to practically apply to every single business that is here, whether they know it or not. Like the analogy we use a lot is like it's late 90s, early 2000s, and people are asking, do I need a website? And the reality is, like, if you're a business, you're going to have a website at some point, right? Same thing with blockchain. So we're really excited to be bringing this message of the impact of this technology, and that's what Salt has been really pushing is just awareness, education, and helping to drive adoption in traditional business models.
Yeah, and that's definitely an uphill road. I think when there's there's a lot of education that has to happen. There's a lot of people that don't understand. It's like the early days of the internet. People are confusing email and internet and things like that. And this is definitely a space where there is a lot of education, but still I see a lot of the same people here that I see a lot of at a lot of other events. What I like about Salt is there is an opportunity to kind of reach out to different financial markets, and you guys have a platform where you can reach out to, maybe more generic spaces that have some kind of asset or collateral that they would want to leverage.
Who is your target audience for Salt? I mean, is it somebody who's a lower income, higher income?
The way that we see is we have two main groupings of audience for Salt. One is borrowers, and the borrower for us is anybody that has a blockchain asset. And right now that's Bitcoin and Ethereum, but like I said, we want to expand that as quickly as possible. Any asset that has a market viability, enough liquidity there, we want to use it as collateral. So for us, it doesn't matter if you have $5,000 worth of Bitcoin or $5 million worth of Bitcoin or more. We want to help you collateralize that and leverage that, so you don't have to sell it to gain some of that action and that volume or the value of that asset. As on the other side of it, we have an audience of investors, of lenders, and this is institutional money. This is individual accredited investors who have capital they want to put to use, right? And Salt's providing a way and an onboarding mechanism for them to lend that capital against an over-collateralized debt instrument. So those are really the main audiences that Salt is trying to appeal to.
Nice, that's really exciting. Yeah, and we talked a little bit on the panel today to an audience of merchants and investors and developers who are definitely interested in using crypto in their daily lives. What do you think we need to do as kind of crypto knowledge specialists in order to get these groups more engaged and to adopt the philosophies and ethos of bringing crypto into their lives?
Well, what I think is really interesting is it's like the questions that I've heard today have not been what I expected. They've not been like, well, how do I do an ICO? How do I do a token event? How do I do this? It's more, how do I start accepting payments in cryptocurrency? How do I adopt this technology? How do I decentralize parts of my organization? It's a question you and I both heard. These are the concerns that people are worried about, and I think, or interested in, really. And I think that this industry of startups in particular, they eat and breathe and live disruption. That's what they leverage their entire business models off of. And I think that we're really seeing this attraction to blockchain space as an understanding of its potential to disrupt. And I think that's really what us as people who are pushing this technology forward, who are trying to make awareness grow, is to show practical ways that this technology can help them disrupt the way they're doing businesses currently. And really from the really high level generic sense of blockchains enabling the exchange of value, and helping businesses see how today they can put this into practical use, whether it be in the form of payments they accept from their customers, from how they manage their inventory, and any other slew of today real world practical applications of blockchain. That's our obligation, I think. Is
and you talked about 3 major ways that businesses can be affected or should expect to be affected by the blockchain, right? You talked about value. You talked about what were the other 2?
So there was exchange of value, which is kind of core to every single business out there.
Sure.
Every business has a product or service they are exchanging for a customer's value, some unit, either currency or what have you. The other 2 were payment process or payment forms that you can accept from your customers.
Okay.
Which, if you're started accepting cryptocurrency as payment, you can increase your addressable market immediately, right? If you have, especially a digitally deliverable product, you're not bound by the boundaries by people who have U.S. bank accounts or U.S. credit cards only. That's the second form. And then the third way that it's really going to impact startups and entrepreneurs especially is that funding model, is that pre-launch revenue, pre-launch funding, either through a token generation event, through an ICO. And I think that there's been a lot of maturity inserted into this industry surrounding those types of mechanisms, and that's good, right? But I think that people need to understand that it's not a world where you're either selling or giving up most of your company to a venture capital firm, or you're not funded, right? It's not one of those two.
It's a very different model now.
Anymore,
we have
right?
a new model that's available.
If you have a team that's reputable, if you have a business model that's sensible, and you have a plan to execute on that you have other avenues to fund your project. And that's really interesting to this crowd, I think.
Right. And if I recall correctly, one of the questions that we got from the audience was, and I think this is relevant for the Bloomberg audience that this broadcasts is on. Basically, how do we get engaged? How do we use crypto in our merchant space? I think it was about like, the question was, how can what does this space need? What does the blockchain space need in terms of merchants and things like that? We talked about how there's 16 jobs for every blockchain developer, but I think, I don't know if it was you or the guy from MakerDAO, I forget, Ethan. MakerDAO, he had said that, there's all kinds of other jobs that are coming up around this, and there's a lot of need. And I think that applies even to your 3 principles, which kind of came in my mind, the value piece. One thing I really thought was interesting is on the value side of things, there's a lot of fraud out there. And I think that having an auditable blockchain can reduce fraud in a lot of different places. You want to spend a minute talking about fraud and value?
I think that there's tons of opportunities for blockchain to impact fraud, especially when it comes to either the reversibility of payments, or I think what I'm really excited about is smart contracts coming into play more tangibly in everyday business transactions, and especially when it comes to being enforced by third-party arbitration. I think that's something that blockchain has a huge opportunity to really impact business relationships. So what happens a lot, so you have a service provider who agrees to do a service, they get half of the payment or some of the payment up front, and then at some point they don't really deliver on that, but they keep that payment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think having that form of payment or that transaction facilitated by smart contracts is a huge opportunity for a lot of these businesses that have been burned by service providers. And also, it gives new service providers an opportunity to pierce an industry, whereas otherwise they'd be relying on a reputation to have that legitimacy, right? And I think that's something that's really going to disrupt the way that businesses operate.
So they'll be able to compete just on the format.
We are coming to break, so go ahead and throw out some information how we can find out more about you and about Salt.
Yeah. Awesome. Check out saltlending.com. For now, Denver Startup Week. I'm not sure about the website on that, but I'm sure if you do a quick Google search on that, it'll pull up. We would love to talk to you guys. If you guys in the U.S., we have 80% of the jurisdictions in the U.S. Lendable, and about a bunch of foreign countries as well. So about 1 in 10 human beings on Earth can borrow from Salt currently.
Nice.
So 1 in 10 or 11, something like that.
All right.
So
Thanks for coming.
we'd love to talk to you guys. Yeah.
Thank you very much.